Morning guys, I'm heading over to my lesson. I am so excited. It has been months since I've had a lesson, let alone a private lesson. So yeah, I'll bring you guys along with me as much as I can for today. And yeah, let's go. Okay guys, I'm home. I did my lesson and you know what? I really needed it. It was so good. So bearing in mind, this is my first time riding in the arena since Elvis and his Bolton antics and coming off and all that sort of negative sort of part that was there for a while. This is my first time riding in the arena. So I was like, oh God, okay. So that's that corner that we didn't like, you know, the toilets there that we didn't like. And you know, when you go back into the same environment and like the memories come back, if that makes sense. So we had a flat lesson today and I really think it was a great way to start back because just the small things I started to work towards that I was sort of forgetting and not focusing on over the last while. So let's get into it. Okay, so we started off strong at the start of the lesson, going out on our walk and an active walk, and then just reminding ourselves of, she was like, how many steps do you have in your walk? And like, I won't lie to you, initially I was like, right, well, we have walk and we stop, you know, like that's where my head's been over the last while, you know, but it's those small technical things that I haven't been focusing on when I've been out riding over the last while. So she was like, how many feet does the horse have? I was like, 4. She was like, yeah, so you 4 steps. And then you have your trot. So you have your working trot, your medium trot, all those sort of things. Then you have your canter. And that's really where we started. So we started off with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and getting that energy coming from behind. So that's what we focused on in the walk. And then I'll tell you the next. So then we started trotting and really starting to get into the lesson, you know, and for me over the last while, like trotting has just been trotting and cantering has been cantering, you know, I haven't really been thinking on the steps of like a working trot, a medium trot, you know, all this sort of stuff. So when I first started trotting, I didn't have enough energy and she was like, more. And then like, I really just felt the working trot going around. She was like, that's the trot you're looking for. And I was like, I actually haven't felt this in so long, you know? So it's really good to go back and do your lessons because it reminds you of those things like when you're out and about, you're just focused on like going straight. You're not thinking on bends, turns, and you know what I mean? Well, you are, but you're not as focused on it than when you're actually in the arena doing arena work. So even small things like moving on then and then collecting yourself and your half halts and sitting and waiting, you know, giving that horse the instruction, but not like dropping your reins, still keeping your contact. And, you know, like it's a completely different atmosphere. So then we worked on basically having our working trot around and then I would collect at just before the corner and then I would collect and then I would go into sit and trot and then I would keep my sit and trot and then I would send the horse on again and then go back into my rising, you know, so that's what we worked on for a while. And for me, it was really balanced with me. I thought my position was really bad. I thought my legs were really bad and she was like, absolutely not. Not once did I say to you, oh, fix your position, keep your heels down. So I'm actually really proud of that. So I'm actually happy I didn't lose what I thought I actually lost. So then after that, we started doing some canter work. So we cantered on each rein and she was like, the first time you cantered, and this is so true, she was like, you were the passenger, like you were literally a passenger. And I was like, yeah, because I was like, woo, we're cantering, you know? And I was more like, okay, right, we're cantering and these are the areas that were still in my head from like my memories with Elvis of where he'd spook. And the second time then I went out and cantered, she was like amazing. She was like, they were like chalk and cheese. She was like, you actually rode the horse, you know? She was like, it was just brilliant. So I actually felt really good then because I really got into it then and I was using my legs and pushing them out into the corners and I felt like the old rider that I used to be. So I'm really looking forward now to just progress again then in my lessons and get back jumping when the time is right. And you know what, it won't take me long. I'd say a couple of lessons then I'll be back jumping again and just I'll be working on that. And that's where I want to be, is to be the rider that that knocked me off. But I want to be back to the rider I used to be, you know, who was confident, who was flying over that course of 80s. And look, to some riders that might not be much, you know, but to me it was, you know, and it was such an achievement for me to get to my 80s and go out and compete in them. And I really want to be back there. But I'm actually really happy I've chosen to go back to my lessons because it's actually given me a chance to think on those things, like to collect, you know, and then ask the horse, you know, but not to let things die, or don't just sit and be like, I'm done now, you know, like send the horse on, you know, keep them trotting, keep an active trot, and your canter, like ride, you know what I mean? Don't just sit there do nothing, like, you know, like you're constantly riding. So I think I'm going to be flying over the next while. But if this is a sign for anybody who's thinking about getting back into your lessons, please do, you know, don't be ashamed or don't feel like you're going backwards. And you know what, the thing about us as riders is that, you know what, we can never stop learning. You know, there's always something that we're going to learn, and there might always be things that we want to like critique, or we want to work on something, like we want better contact, or there's always something that we can always perfect and work better at, you know. So I'm just like, anybody out there who has stopped riding for a while or has sold their horse and wants to get back in the saddle, go and book a lesson, guys. You know what I mean? Go and do it. And whether it's a group lesson or it's a private lesson, you know, get yourself back in the saddle. Because I just feel like even that one hour private with me, I've just worked on things that I haven't worked on in such a long time, and it's just helping my riding. And the instructor was like, you know what, you're so easy to teach and you get it. And when you say something, you know, you don't have to keep focusing on that one thing. So that was really nice to hear. And I'm really looking forward to the next one. And it was just so good to get back on the yard and see faces that I haven't seen in a long time, you know, and catch up and see how they're doing and have the laugh. And you know what, I'm really, really happy I made the right decision to go back and do some lessons, because it's just going to help me personally. And my instructor summed it up for me. She was like, you spend so much time focusing on Elvis. And I did. I was more focused on him and his education. She was like, now it's time for you to focus on you. She was like, let's just focus on Dylan and work on Dylan. And that literally summed it up for me. And that's what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm proud of myself. I might be going a couple of steps backwards, you know, and starting off where I used to be. But you know what? I give myself a couple of weeks and I'm going to be flying again, but back where I used to be flying over my courses of fences. So yeah, give me time. We'll get there.